Judge, it was most unusual. It was indeed unprecedented to send the drones out 3.5 hours before they're going to strike Israel, and then send the cruise missiles and send the ballistic missiles. It was very artfully planned. It should have been anticipated, and it was, I suppose, because the Israelis and the United States and others shut up all their anti-aircraft missiles to the tune of $1 billion, I'm told. And yet, we haven't seen a damage assessment completely, but we know that two Israeli airfields and an intelligence center in Tel Aviv were hit. Now, how much damage was done? It really doesn't matter, because what the Iranians have done now is show the potential of what they could do in the future, and they could do this like every day, and the Israelis would run out of $1 billion a day. The artful thing here was this was all coordinated with the United States of America beforehand. There were talks between, actually, the Financial Times in London had this story. There were talks between the Americans and the Israelis. The Iranians said, look, this is all we're going to do for now. But you tell your Israeli clients that if they retaliate for our retaliation, then all bets are off. We could do a lot worse. So we'll have to wait to see how damaged those Israeli airfields and that military intelligence center from which the strike on the Iranian consulate in Damascus was planned, and the fighter jet, the F-35s, took off from those airfields. So it was a very, very pointed response. We'll have to see whether the damage is great, but as I said, that's less significant than the demonstrated ability of Iran to hit Israel directly. That changes the whole ball game. They're willing to do that. The ball now, of course, is in Biden's court. Will he be strong enough to tell the Israeli leaders, look, I mean it this time. You retaliate for this warning attack, and we're not with you anymore. God, I don't know if Biden is up to that, but that's where it comes down to.
The idea that Iranian intelligence informed American intelligence of what the Iranians were going to do ahead of time, is this novel or is this standard?
I'm not sure it was through intelligence channels. It may have simply been between the people who talk on the sidelines or sub rosa, and we do conduct talks with the Iranians, or it could be through the Swiss or some other diplomatic entity acting on our behalf, or it could be the Russians, it could be the Chinese. Bear in mind, Judge, this time the game is completely different, because the Russians and the Chinese are decidedly on the side of Iran. Sure, they wring their hands and say, oh, we don't want any further escalation, and they do not want any further escalation. But we'll have to see how strong they come out in condemning Iran. They haven't just yet. I don't think they will, because they can see the logic in this thing. The whole thing depends on Biden and Netanyahu, whether Netanyahu will take Biden seriously this time. And if he doesn't, as I suspect he won't, then whether Biden will really follow through and say, no more aid. It's a really, really crazy. We're back to where we started.
Are you surprised that mainstream media is touting the success of British, American, and Israeli defenses, notwithstanding the cost, making it sound like Israel didn't even get a scratch?
Well, 99%, sort of like you buy something for $3.99 or $5.99. 99% is a little sketchy, okay? But even if it was 99%, you have to understand that those 99 were the drones sent as sacrificial lambs to a cost of $10,000 a piece, and these missilery that shot them down were very, very expensive. And you have to realize that this was a demonstration, and the demonstration is really quite vivid here. We Iran have the capability now that you used to have, Israel, when you threatened us with nuclear weapons. We don't have nuclear weapons. We're not working on nuclear weapons. U.S. intelligence recognizes that, but we have all kinds of other stuff, including hypersonic missiles, which you, Israel, don't have, and which your patron, the United States, has not yet been able to develop either.
How did Iran get the hypersonic? From Russia?
I imagine they had some help from the Russians, but I don't know that for a fact. The Iranians are quite clever people and witnessed the sophistication of the ballistic missiles that got through the Israeli air defenses after the Israelis shot down 300 decoys, or what we call those hovering little things that came first.
So the drones cost $10,000 a piece, and maybe a few hundred of them were destroyed. The Israelis spent a billion in one night shooting these down. How much longer can they afford that?
That's the question, of course, Judge. Not too many more nights. And that is the threat that's dangling out like a sword of Damocles now. For the first time, the Israelis have been warned, look, not only can we hit you directly, we will. We just demonstrated that. Now knock it off. This was just a warning. We can do far worse. And the United States is pleading with the Israelis, look, please don't retaliate again. And the way they're justifying that is, we won. We knocked down 99% of those damn things, man.
That's the lead story today. Do you think that Biden is serious about not backing Netanyahu if he decides to retaliate or even to invade? I think it would be insane for him to do it, but he behaves in his own way. Invade Iran?
Well, invasion is off, but I think that Biden is listening to people who are saying, Joe, you're going to lose the election, both with respect to Ukraine and now with respect to losing the young voters that used to always vote Democratic. You know, the Gaza thing continues. You better call Bibi off before the killing, the slaughter, the starvation, and the genocide continue. And what's interesting, Judge, is that the folks on your program, this program, Scott Ritter, I remember him telling months ago, the Israeli army is not all it's stacked up to be. They're going to lose. Take it from me, says Scott. They're going to lose. Now, they have lost. They've pulled out their last brigade from Gaza. What does that mean? Well, they're refitting. They're getting ready to go in. Well, no. It means that they've lost, and they're really up against the wall now. And what Netanyahu and his coterie of right-wingers are going to do is really scary, because they have a lot at stake, including personal stake. Netanyahu, if he leaves office, will end up in jail with his wife, a nice little bridal suite.
Has anything changed in Gaza while all this is going on with Iran?
Not that I'm aware of. My friends are preparing to leave Turkey with that 5,500-ton cargo of medical supplies and food. We'll have to see how that comes off, whether Biden will protect them. Biden will say, well, we couldn't get stuff in, but let these people in, or more likely, he'll give Netanyahu carte blanche to do to my friends what he did to the World Central Kitchen folks.
Oh,
deliberate killing.
Well, you and I literally have friends on that boat with the ship. It's many ships. Would the Israelis sink those ships?
I don't think they'd sink it. They could easily do what they did in 2010 to the Mavi Marmara, a Turkish ship laden with supplies to break the siege of Gaza. They landed on that ship. They killed 9 people, wounded about 20. And one of the people that they killed was Furkan. I forget his last name. He was an American citizen, dual citizenship, Turkish and American. The Americans never said a word about it. Just as a codicil here, the next year we fixed up a boat called the U.S. Boat to Gaza. We called it the Audacity of Hope. Okay. And we were set to sail for Gaza too. And Netanyahu said, Obama, you better call those people off because I will not guarantee that they'll be safe. And Obama told the Greeks not to let us leave from the port of Piraeus outside of Athens. That's how that one came out. So Obama was really afraid, and he couldn't persuade Netanyahu not to do a sin, as he had done those 9 people on the Mavi Marmara the year before. And so our boat to Gaza got 9 nautical miles out of Piraeus harbor when it was confronted by Greek patrol boats apologetically saying, my God, we have orders. You got to turn around. You got to turn around. After an hour standoff, our captain said, and Ann Wright, our co-captain, said, okay, we better turn around. We want them landing on us and killing some of us.
What is your gut as to what Netanyahu will do next? Invade Rafah, attack Iran, invade Lebanon? I mean, he started this mess. I don't know what he's going to do to get out of it.
Judge, I'll be honest. I just don't know. This is the first time that Biden has preemptively said, don't do it. Okay. Now, there is so much at stake for Netanyahu and his coterie of right-wing people, and 68%, according to the latest poll, of support for genocide by the Israeli people writ large. That if I were forced to guess, as I guess I am right now, I would say that Netanyahu will thumb his nose at Biden, and Biden will have to decide whether it's better to honor his pledge for this ironclad commitment or look just as silly as he's going to look on Ukraine, pledging to be with the Ukrainians for as long as it takes. It's going to be a big black eye. Either way, I hope I'm wrong. I think the odds favor Netanyahu and his associates doing even more damage in Gaza. Or maybe against Hezbollah.
And then, given the influence of the donor class and AIPAC and those groups on Biden and on the American government, not just Biden, the Congress as well, don't the odds favor Biden giving Netanyahu whatever he wants and the Congress going along with it?
Those are the odds, and that's why I come down slightly on it. This is a different situation, though, because Iran has made clear, and the U.S. has actually parroted what Iran has said. Look, next time it's for real. You got that? Next time your nuclear deterrent is not going to mean much because we have non-nuclear stuff that is fully as good. Look at the size of your country. You're going to face Armageddon if you retaliate in a meaningful way, or if you don't stop.
Do you remember that speech that Netanyahu gave at the UN where he held up some cartoonish poster which purported to be Iran's nuclear weapons? Doesn't everybody recognize now that Iran does not have nuclear weapons, but the Israelis do, who will never acknowledge it?
It's true, Judge. Back in 2007, when an honest person came in to run a national intelligence estimate, it concluded Iran is not working on a nuclear weapon. We say that unanimously. We say that with high confidence. It stopped working on a nuclear weapon 5 years ago. Do the math. 07, 02. Okay, I wonder why it was 02, but they stopped then. Okay, now every year since, and this is a good thing. Every year since, the annual threat assessment, including the one just this year, has said we still are convinced Iran is not working on a nuclear weapon. Whoa, okay. So does it have to work on a nuclear weapon? No. It just demonstrated its ability with ballistic missiles of all kinds of sophistication, including hypersonic, that it can do What nuclear weapon? Oh, there it is. Yeah, this
There it
is
is.
terrific. Yeah,
Chris, you're terrific. That's it.
that's the one. That's at the UN. Yeah,
correct.
and nobody, some people walked out, but most people just, oh my God, 90%. And the propaganda machine in this country, I defy you to search the New York Times and see what the real story. See if they mention the 2007 estimate, which, in my view, played a huge role in preventing a god awful war with Iran the last year under Bush and Cheney, when they would ride out into the sunset, leaving an additional mess
Who was
behind.
the honest person that was the head of that team? Do we know the person?
Oh, the person who chaired that?
Yes.
Sure. Yeah. His name is Tom Finger. He won the Sam Adams Award for Integrity and Intelligence. They had to go to the State Department to find an honest guy. He had taken copious dissents, copious footnotes in the 2002 estimate, which said confidently that Iraq had all manner of nuclear weapons, and there were ties between Al Qaeda and Saddam Hussein. Colin Powell called that a sinister nexus. He knew
Right.
damn well it wasn't. So yeah, so they picked this guy who took all the dissents in 2002 and said, Tom, will you run an honest one, because they're going after Iran now, and that would be Armageddon. And reluctantly, Tom took the job, worked for a whole year, had the benefit of some really good information, and issued that thing publicly. Bush later said, this deprived me of the nuclear option, for how can I send my armed forces to destroy the nuclear facilities of a country that the intelligence community says has no active nuclear weapons program? Bummer.
Did Netanyahu know he was lying, or was he duped by Mossad?
Oh, no. Mossad and Netanyahu are in this together. Matter of fact, originally when they were stealing from us, that is the Israelis, the parts or the knowledge to make such a nuclear weapon, Netanyahu himself was involved in some of that from the United States when he lived here. So, it was a long kept secret. But I will say this, that John Kennedy knew about this and tried every which way to get the Israelis to stop. He was thwarted by the CIA, people of the likes of James Jesus Angleton, who was as much a neoconservative and supporter of Israel as he was of the United States. So Kennedy made the last honest try to stop this. It was not stoppable. Spies like Netanyahu at the time succeeded, and now they have, people say, between 90 and 200 nuclear weapons. The trouble is they can't really use them, can they, except for deterrence. Deterrence has worked up until now, but as of Saturday night, it don't work anymore.